Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We're really excited to do another panel style webinar and talk a little bit about holiday sales. It's kind of crazy that it's already that time. So we hope that tonight is able to spark some creativity for the attendees and maybe get you guys thinking about what you want to do for your holiday sales. As always, we have a few more webinars coming up throughout the fall, one in November and one in December. So we hope we'll see you there as well. If you would like to register for those are all on sell.choplocal.com. And if you're on our email list, we'll always send you the registration links as well. A little bit about ChopLocal. If you're interested in creating an online store, we are really excited to get people on right now. Q4 is always our highest sales volume. And so if you're interested in starting up an online store before the holidays really ramp up, we'd be interested to talk to you about that and what it's like to be a vendor on ChopLocal. Both of our panelists tonight are ChopLocal vendors, so they can share maybe a little bit throughout their answers about what that looks like for them as well. If you're interested, you can always reach out to my coworker Katie and I as well. Katie is on tonight, so if you hear her as well, she might be able to talk a little bit about what it looks like from our admin side. But with that, we're excited to introduce you to two of our great vendors on ChopLocal, Teresa Davis with West 40 Market and Rebecca Dalton with Dalton Farms. They both have storefronts, and so I will let them share a little bit about themselves and about what their operation looks like. So Teresa, if you want to start first.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Teresa Davis. I own West 40 Market here in Uptown Ankeny. And I have been open as far as this brick and mortar is concerned for about 2.5 years almost. So this kind of all started about 5 or 6 years ago with doing farmers markets. And I just felt like there was a really big need for having an actual brick and mortar store in the Des Moines-ish area in Iowa, and a place for people to kind of come in and shop year round, all local Iowa meats and other products. I also thought it'd be really cool to have an outlet for other farmers to be able to sell their meats and their items year round instead of just in the farmers market. Obviously here in Iowa, we only have about 6 months out of the year that's decent weather that we can be outside for farmers markets. And so I wanted to do something like that. So I guess a little bit about me, I was laid off from my corporate job during the pandemic and just thought it'd be a great opportunity to start up my own business. It was apparently a great time to do so when everything was shut down. So I kind of just jumped right into it, and I found a space and started it with just my family's beef, chicken, and then I had a local farmer that raised the pork and the lamb for me. And then I've grown to having 3 chicken farmers. I've got turkey in here now, and a couple of different pork farmers that I support, as well as 2 other bison farmers here in Iowa. And then I've got quite a bit of other local Iowa only products here. So like Cindy said, I have a brick and mortar store that you can shop at. And then I found ChopLocal shortly after I opened. Well, maybe they found me, I guess. And it admittedly took Katie about a year of talking to me and convincing me that ChopLocal was a really good idea. Honestly, I had to get my feet on the ground and kind of figure my store out first before I understood kind of how an online store could help to kind of be an extension of that store and help to grow my business. And I have absolutely loved being a part of ChopLocal for the last year. It's taken my business just to a level that I never knew it could go. And obviously shipping all across the United States has been huge for both myself and all the farmers and the businesses that I support here at West 40 Market. So I'm excited to be a part of ChopLocal, and being part of these webinars and just connecting with this community has been really beneficial as well too. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you. And Rebecca, if you want to share a little bit as well.
Sure. So thanks for having me on. I am by no means any expert, but I'm going to share what has worked for me, and hopefully it'll help you guys. And I'm hoping to learn from Teresa myself tonight. So, because we're always learning. I married into the farm. So I grew up in an agriculture setting in a rural area, but we had more of like a hobby farm. It wasn't our livelihood. So I married into the farm 15 years ago. And my husband had his job on the farm, and I was a nurse. And we kind of kept those separated for a long time. But I decided I wanted more of a role on the farm once I started having kids about 10 years ago. And he said, if you want to do something, the aspect of our business that could grow is selling our beef. So he had raised cattle his whole life. We probably raised about 200 head a year. And most of those would go in pot load style to, an auction house. We would sell at that point probably 15, maybe 20% of those to consumers and, family and friends. But I started a Facebook page, I started some social media, started sharing the farms, sharing our life. And that's kind of how it grew and snowballed into what it is today. It was a slow burn. It didn't take off initially, but COVID and all that did help tremendously. But it was starting to really grow and take off before then, actually. So I ended up being able to quit my job 2 years ago as a nurse, and I am full time on the farm now. So he even gets me in the tractor sometimes. When he's desperate. I'm not his A team, but I do get called in to do that sometimes. But we now raise 400 head of cattle. All of those go direct to consumers, sold off of our store that is on the farm. We call it the meat barn. And we work with, like Teresa as well, work with local farms that raise chicken and pork. And we have honey, maple syrup, all of that with what is very local within a county of ourselves. Most of our stuff is in our store. I recently signed up with ChopLocal and really just started getting going with it once I had some time to devote to it. And it's already helped. I've used some other platforms in the past. I've used some e-commerce ways of selling. And the big hurdle that I always ran into was that it's not farmers running those sites. And it's really hard because they don't understand what we're trying to do when we're saying we want to sell a half a beef, or we're trying to sell a porterhouse steak that weighs X amount of, ounces. So ChopLocal, I can tell, is already going to be a huge asset just because everybody understands the lingo and what I'm trying to say when I need help. So that's a little bit about me.
Perfect. Thank you guys. So you kind of answered this question right now that I have up on the screen about your background in selling meat. So I'm gonna hop into the next question. Tell us a little bit about what you've done for selling holiday gift boxes in the past, ideas for boxes, what products worked well, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I do a variety of different bundles actually year round. And then I also do some holiday bundles specific. So I would say like from that standpoint, really having a variety works. So I typically around the holidays, especially will give people, like 3 to 5 different bundle options, anything from like a cold weather bundle. We're here in Iowa. So, like roast and stew meat and things like that. I'll do an all steak and pork chop bundle, a little bit higher price bundle. I'll do like a ground beef bundle, things like that. So I try to have a nice variety of options and especially price points too. So typically in the past, like I'll tell you that $50 range really flies off the shelf year round, especially, but even during the holidays, that just seems like a really good number for when you're spending money for somebody else and buying a gift. $50 seems to be good. $100 seems to work. There's definitely those that go for the over $100, but it's not as much as like between about that $50 to $100, $125 range. So I like to have a nice variety. I also really encourage my customers, and I promote a lot on social media about the fact that we can make any sort of custom bundle for you. We can take what your budget is, we can take an idea or give you an idea of what you want for or what you might want in that bundle, and then we can kind of tweak it to make it your own. So I not only put stuff out there for customers to kind of just take the thinking out of it. A lot of times those go last minute when people are just like, I just need a $50 gift for somebody. And yep, that sounds great. And here you go. But if they're putting time and effort and thought into it, I really push and promote the fact that I can customize anything for you and I can fit it to whatever your budget is. So the bundles that I put out there are just kind of a starting point sometimes for customers. And they'll say, okay, I really like this one, but can we swap out, X, Y, and Z for something else? And so we'll kind of make it specific to them. I would also say, especially when it comes to shipping, with ChopLocal, we certainly bundle it up and make it pretty for them. We'll put in a custom note and a custom card, whether it be for the holidays or even just for any occasion year round, a birthday or I'm thinking of you or congratulations on your new house. We do a lot of those and we'll put in a custom card or allow them to even drop a card off at our store and we can put it in the bundle that's being shipped out that they include in that too. So those are some things I guess that work well for me. I think that price point is important of just kind of having a variety, a range for everybody, but also just kind of being pretty transparent and open about the fact that you can adjust those. So if somebody wants something to kind of be adjusted, to be open to that as well, if at all possible.
Yeah, so similar to Teresa, we have standard bundles that we offer year round. We do a variety package that includes a little bit of pork, beef and chicken. We have an all chicken and all beef. I don't think I said that one, that are at that $100 price point. And those sell well throughout the whole year, but they also do really well over the holidays because it is a perfect gift. And especially it doesn't take up a lot of freezer space. So if somebody doesn't have a big, freezer, they can hold that. The other thing that we really push over the holidays, like some of these pictures on here, one of those is what I call the beef bouquet. And that's something that we do just on special occasions. We've done it for Father's Day. We've done it for Christmas. And it includes like the beef bacon and the smokies and the jerky and all beef hot dogs and things like that. And just bundle it together, make it easy. It's wrapped, it's pretty. All they have to do is pick it up and give it to that person. And that is like, I try to keep that at that $50 to $60 price point because I agree with Teresa that $50 sells great, $100 sells great, even up to 150, depending. But yes, once you get any higher than that, it kind of limits the amount of sales you see. We've also done an all local basket for the last several years. And then that's in one of those pictures. And that will include a gift card to our market so that it's something that's shelf-stable and it's not something that they have to have cooled or chilled. And in that, I'll put like a honey and a maple syrup and a garlic from the local garlic farm and maybe even a Christmas ornament, a Bloody Mary mix that, is local. It's all food-based and it's all from vendors that are on our shelves and they're all local. It'll have seasonings and, barbecue sauce and all of that. And then just that, like I said, the gift card to our store so that then it's drawing them in to purchase whatever they want for the meat options. And that has gone over really well. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about like working with other businesses. And I will say that one has probably done the best with other businesses instead of maybe individuals, but local businesses tend to like that one a lot. And obviously gift certificates and gift cards are huge around the holidays. I don't have to push them at all. They fly off the shelf. Those are definite, things that everybody's always looking for around the holidays.
Perfect. Yeah, and I know a lot of the things that both of you guys mentioned, we will expand upon a little bit more as we get going here. So one of the things that we've kind of discussed, what do your customers want? Do they need to know, exactly what's in the box, like 2 steaks, 1 package of ground beef, an exact description, or if you say there's going to be 10 pounds of X or whatever, what do people prefer there?
Yeah, I think with that, I have found that when I'm maybe not as descriptive in there, I certainly get customers or potential customers who message me and ask questions. I have in my description exactly what's included. I try to always have like the actual count and then also like the pounds or ounces and approximate. I will say I'm always really careful of saying approximately X amount of pounds of steaks, right? Or approximately X amount of pounds of ground, because it can fluctuate just a little bit. So you want to be clear on that. And I think that it's important of having the description in there. Now, I do have some bundles that I'll be open about it. So I'll say, hey, this bundle will be, it'll be 20 pounds worth of steaks in a variety of these different cuts. So then that way it allows me to also be flexible with what I have in stock. So they know that as long as they're good with all those different cuts, they're going to get a variety of that. So I think that's important too, but you don't have to be exact, but an approximate. People want to know approximately how much meat am I going to get on this? What kind of cuts am I going to get? I think that's definitely important. And it certainly cuts down on customers asking you questions. Otherwise, if you're very vague, they start messaging you or want to have just a lot of questions. So if you can cut that down as much as possible, I think that's helpful.
Yeah, I agree. If you don't list the description and what's in it, you're going to get asked. People are going to want to know, and you're going to then spend your whole time telling people what's in it. So, and I also think that when you list the items, they can see the value in it a little more than just saying, hey, this is $100 bundle of meat. Well, what am I getting for that $100? So listing it and they kind of see the value. They feel like they're getting, a deal. They're getting an amount for that money. Yeah, you definitely have to list the items because it's just something that they want to know. And I would too, to be honest. If I was going to buy something, I want to know what's included in it.
So we already kind of touched on this. We might not expand on it much more, but the price points that people are looking for. I know you guys mentioned 50, 75, 100. Is there anything else you want to add on price points? I think those are pretty common, but if there's anything else, I'll let you share here.
No, I don't think there's much. I'll second the whole gift card thing. I didn't mention that either, but I think is if you can be flexible on your gift cards too and have multiple increments, which we certainly do on ChopLocal and I do in my store as well too. So, I mean, they can literally come in and do $10 if they wanted to, if it's little stocking stuffers or something like that. So I would say be as flexible as you can with that kind of thing, because those also lead to bigger sales, right? So if they're giving even just a $10 gift card, that person's probably going to come in and spend a lot more than $10 in your store and potentially be a customer going forward. So whatever gets somebody, whatever that sounds terrible, whatever that bait is that gets them in the door, I think that it's good to be flexible on that as much as you can.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing different, we're going to try this year, so I'll let you know how it goes, but really promoting bulk orders, even for loved ones, where they can get like a gift certificate for a quarter of beef and they can spend it throughout the year. And we haven't really pushed that much in the years prior, but we're going to try to go with that, or even our eighth beef, which is a little lower price point. So we'll see how that goes. Historically, we've done more of like the $100 bundles and more in that price point, but there's been a bigger push and interest in that. So if a parent wants to buy their kid, a quarter of beef, we're looking at, really kind of promoting that and sharing that we will help them specify their cutting instructions throughout the year, and they can get it, anytime throughout that year. So we'll see how that goes.
That's a great idea.
We did have a question related to the price points. For a $50 price point, are you shipping those boxes? Are you charging shipping on top of that? How does that work?
So I'm new into the shipping world. So historically, my $50 options did not include my shipping prices. When I was just laying everything, kind of listing everything and getting it ready for Cindy to help me upload it all, it'll probably be more at like that 65 online to help with that shipping.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I definitely, I do pad a little bit, especially with the bundles on the online around the holidays, because a lot more of those do get actually shipped out. I will say with my situation, it is a little bit unique because I do have a brick and mortar, and I have a lot of local customers that love just shopping online so that it's convenient for them to pick up in store. So they usually grab a couple of things while they're in here, but they love just the convenience of the online shopping. And so, yes, I do ship, but I would say the majority of a good, probably 75% of my business online is actually people that just drives them into the store, and it brings them in that way. So bundles around the holidays, I certainly do pad them a little bit, knowing that a lot of those I do start shipping out quite a bit more. But during the year, I kind of bring it a little bit more level set to what I actually have the price of in store, because a lot of those are just people that want to snag that bundle before it's gone every week or whatever the case is. And then they just come in store to pick it up too. So I think it kind of depends on your layout and how you're doing your business. But certainly if you're just all shipping, I would absolutely adjust that price accordingly. So you're kind of padding all that cost into it.
What are your guys' thoughts on early bird pricing or any other sort of early bird special?
I advertise just get it done before I run out. I don't offer any early bird pricing. I offer the fact that it's going to not be around if you've got last minute shopping to do in December. So I do a lot of bundles for some pretty big employers here in central Iowa that typically exhaust all of my steaks by Christmas time and a lot of other things. And so, over the course of the last couple of years, that's just kind of become a thing. And so I've already started advertising and saying, if you want to start getting bundles locked in, for employees or family or whatever the case is, buy it now and I'll store it for you. And I won't ship it out until, when you want me to ship it out, or it won't be ready to go until you actually come in to pick it up in the store when you want it. So you don't have to worry about it until Christmas or whenever you want to pick it up or have it shipped out, but lock it in now and get it purchased now. So I think that's really what I push. I don't do a pricing special. I just do it's going to be gone. So if that's what you want to do, you got to get in on it. Otherwise it's going to be gift cards for everybody. So
Agree. I don't do any early bird or sales necessarily. I just really share with that urgency that you're saying, make sure that put it out there. There's limited quantities of these available and they sell out every year, and you better hurry up, get your order in today, even though people won't listen, but they'll get there eventually, because, just kind of creating the hype for your own product. And you don't need to do early birds, or in my opinion, I haven't had to, because like you said, Teresa, like you sell out and it will, and it will. So I think it creates its own hype and that urgency to make sure they get their order in.
And quite honestly, even if you if you're new to ChopLocal or considering doing this, and this is like your first Christmas doing this, like it doesn't matter if you haven't sold out before. Like like she said, hype your stuff up, really create a sense of urgency, create a lot of excitement around it. Hey, these bundles are going to go fast, you guys, here's kind of what we have, and throw it out there. People love that. And that's really what they kind of go after, is if you're kind of like touting it a little bit, right? Like, this is the bundle of the season or something like that. And hey, there's only limited numbers available. People love that. And it helps them to kind of be like, oh shoot, I better get in line and get this taken care of. Otherwise it's going to be gone. So hype it up.
Mm-hmm. And you can always go back and say, oh, guess what? I was able to make 10 more. There's 10 more now available. And then it's like, oh, it creates even more excitement around it, because now that it creates that demand and that, the hype.
I think those are really good marketing strategies, and we'll get a little more into those in a few questions here, I think. We kind of talked about price point that works best. Is there a size of box that you think works best? Maybe pound wise or dimension? What have you found works best?
Yeah, I typically, when I measured it last, my average size box is like a 12 by 14, maybe. I think that sounds about right. I try to keep a variety of different sizes, and I source a lot of my all of my styrofoam coolers from community and from vet clinics in the area. I have yet to buy a styrofoam box myself. If you put it out on social media that you're looking to save the planet and you want to bring in some styrofoam coolers, people will drop them off at your doorstep. I promise you. A lot of people get them with medication in it, and it piles up in landfills. So they'd love to get rid of it in a good way. So, and then if you measure the styrofoam coolers, you just have to go online to Amazon or Uline and just buy empty boxes that fit that. And that's all you got to do. So it's super, super easy. So I think, the 12 by 14 is usually about the average size that I send out. I try to stay in that 20 to 25 pound max. I found that if I get any bigger than that, either UPS has something to say about it, or it certainly costs a lot, but they're tossing those boxes around. So you got to think, if the heavier it is, the more it's going to possibly split open if it's getting thrown around in the back of a truck or a plane. So I think just kind of making sure that your bundles, what you're able to package them in with the ice packs and everything else to be safely transported across the United States if it needs to go that way. My in-store ones, I get these and I can send Sydney and Katie, I can send you guys a link after if you want to send it out, but I get these really nice boxes from Uline, and then I just have my own stamp that I got on Etsy for like $7.50. And I just stamp my own boxes, and then I put this really nice, fun little crinkle paper inside and make it all pretty and package it all up. So if you have a business that people are buying online to pick up in store or reserving, pre-ordering and stuff like that, that's how I bundle it up in store, literally. And then I put my card in there. It's ready to gift to somebody. They don't have to do anything, and people just absolutely love it. So, and it looks really nice. So that's what I do for in-store. But then online, I don't use this actual box online, but I'll put the crinkle paper in there and make it pretty and put a little note and kind of do all that. So that's how I do my shipping of holiday boxes.
I have a variety of sizes too. Because it really just depends on what somebody's ordering. So the shipping box that I've been using probably most frequently is like a 17 by 10 by 8, and that's with the styrofoam. I'm definitely going to take your advice and ask for donations of styrofoam because it's expensive to order it. But I've also done some reusable cooler bags at the holidays too, that then are branded with our logo, and that is easy too. So not necessarily for shipping, because like I said, I'm new to the shipping world, but for businesses that have picked up, meat in that reusable cooler bag, and then it has my logo right on it too. It looks nice. It's easy for them to carry. And then hopefully they're reusing it and looking at it all the time and remembering where to come for their meat. Much like Teresa, though, I also have a stamp, and I use that to put the brand, my logo on all of the boxes as well, to make sure they know where it came from, and put in that, that card and all of that. But yeah, you just have to figure out what you want to build for your bundle, I think, and then make it work. I've ordered multiple sizes of boxes, guessing that one would work for what I was thinking. And then I'm like fighting with it for too long. And then I decide I'm moving on and finding a different size box. So I think you just kind of got to decide what you're going to put together and play with it.
Do you guys ever when you're thinking about these are the boxes or the bundles I'm going to do during the year, do you pre-package those, or how do you basically account for what the sizing is going to be and how that's all going to fit. And this is probably more for shipping, but talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, when I'm on my A game, I definitely do. But there's admittedly some weeks where I just wing it. But yeah, so holidays, the ones that I put online for holidays, knowing that quite a few of those are going to get shipped out, I do fit them into the boxes because then I can make sure I've got plenty of coolers, styrofoam coolers ready to go, and I've got boxes purchased that those coolers can fit into, and I know exactly how we're going to execute that because you've got quite a few orders coming in. You've got quite a few orders going out at one time. And so for the team to be able to really execute and filling them, you've got to know ahead of time, this is exactly the size that we're going to need to send this bundle out and have it kind of ready to go. So for sure.
Yeah, I try to lay it out because then I know what I need so that I can order everything and have it here. But I also try to take like my photos at that time too. I just kind of multitask it. I have found that, like, for an example, I used a vase one time when I was marketing my beef bouquet, and I had it all pretty in the vase. It's a bouquet of meat, and I had somebody actually like call me out on the fact that it didn't come in that glass vase because it was then packaged in like butcher paper and wrapped in that as a bouquet. So I think it is kind of important for people to see how those items might arrive to them and come so that it's not, I didn't think I was marketing it, falsely, but I got called out on it.
That's a good point. So you guys both a little bit touched on working with local businesses. So I want to take this question kind of two ways, and I think you'll both answer it differently. So Teresa, for you, you talked a little bit about working with local businesses to do gifts for like employees for different companies. So if you want to touch a little bit on that, and then Rebecca, if you want to talk about how you work with local businesses to incorporate their products into your holiday gift boxes, I think that'll provide us a good array of information on working with, businesses in your guys' communities.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned earlier, I do have a couple of businesses that for now, a couple, 2 or 3 years have ordered bundles. I also just honestly, by having my business and having people shop here, when I put it out on social media that it's a great employee gift, those individual customers who work for these companies or maybe own these companies are like, oh my gosh, that's a really great idea. Random side note, I actually have a couple local companies that use our bundles for bereavement gifts for their employees, which I thought was actually a really cool idea. But so for holidays, I really push it's great for any occasion. It's great for family and friends, but the employers, like, what a really cool, practical local gift that you're giving your employers, something, that they can use up, something they're going to enjoy. And then I'm also looking at it like, how can I make sure I market correctly in that bundle so that person buys from me in the future when they really love what they're getting. So I really do a lot with my marketing side of things on social media, and I push employers for that. Like if I'm bundling them up for employers, like right now I'm getting some stuff ready to go for a couple local companies here, and I'm really touting that on social media. Right. I'm like, hey, we've got a local employer that just ordered 25 $250 meat bundles, for their employers. So we're starting to set stuff aside. You better get in, if you want this for your employees as well. So I really it's kind of the FOMO thing, like, right. If you're missing out on, you put that on social media. And I think that just gives people ideas of how they can really use that. And some of them, might work for an employer and they take that back as an idea and say, hey, what about buying all of us meat bundle, local meat bundles or something like that for Christmas. So I just really push the social media piece and really showcase what I've done in the past for people, and then even getting some actual examples from some of those that have received those bundles and kind of some real life, here's how much we loved it and here's why we loved it kind of thing, and put that out there too.
So when we do the all local or all Ohio basket is kind of what you're talking about then, I think. So with that, basically the vendors that are in our store, I reach out to them and ask them if they want to be part of our holiday basket. And I have not had anybody tell me no, because it's just getting their name out to people that may have never bought their product or heard of them. So just including, like I said earlier, like a maple syrup from a local producer, a honey, kettle corn, all of those food-based products into one holiday all local basket. And that has gone well with other local businesses because there is this big support local movement. So that has been a big thing. And it's something different. It's not all one thing. So, not everybody maybe likes a lot of beef or pork or something. So it has a variety so that they can use that. It's worked well. I have not really personally reached out to any businesses. It's the same. I've used the same approach when, selling them, just market it. It's word of mouth. It's customers of mine going to their employers and saying, hey, have you looked at this? Getting it out there and just sharing, I think, like you said, the FOMO and the social media, and the ones that have bought from me in the past, I will reach out to them because I do need to know what I'm putting together and how many I need to build, even though I try and I'll still not know exactly. So I will reach out to the companies that have purchased in November if I haven't heard from them in the beginning of the month and just say, hey, no pressure, just want to check in with you, see if you're thinking about doing, a similar thing that you've been doing the last couple of years, and hey, I'm not offended if you're going to do something different, but I just want to make sure I set aside product for you.
That's a great point of actually being proactive and making sure you reach out to those first that have done it in the past and kind of giving them first dibs if they want it. So that's a good point.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great ways to do business locally. So I think you guys gave a lot of great ideas there. You guys both kind of talked about your marketing strategy, maybe the FOMO idea. How do you share about, your holiday offerings and maybe when you start doing that? I know we have a question here about when is the best time to start advertising. So yeah, talk a little about marketing.
Yeah, so for me, I use social media a ton. I have newsletters that go out. Obviously, ChopLocal has newsletters that go out as well, which is really helpful to help drive business for the online piece. But I really do a lot of social media. I think I start advertising for holidays like 4 hours after Labor Day's over because people are knocking on my door asking when they can pre-order their turkey. And usually I'm like, okay, that means we're headed into the holidays. Here we go. But I really do. Already in September, I started advertising holiday bundles and, just people getting Thanksgiving lined up because we do Thanksgiving turkeys at West 40. And when that comes within thinking about holidays, and some people celebrate their holiday earlier than actual Christmas Day, and all that. So I just do a ton of social media. I'm already doing it. I will say that for me, at least in my experience, you can never share too much. I mean, you're going to hit, depending on the times that you post it, you're always going to hit somebody different, a different audience. So even if you reshare literally the same thing every 2 days in your stories, I'm just always hitting the exact same stuff over and over and again, because I promise you the person that saw it today won't see it tomorrow and vice versa. So I don't think that you can really overshare the whole holiday thing. And as much as you can get in front of people and really start touting, here's what we have to offer, what a great gift idea, show them all the different options you might have, how they can access it, how the fact that they can ship it to somebody across the country, friends and family. That's pretty cool too. So yeah, social media, obviously newsletters too are really great, but social media has been huge for my business. So.
Mm-hmm. So social media is a big one for me. Obviously, that's how I built this entire business, to be honest. But emailing customers is another thing that I've been doing to promote it, making sure kind of like that newsletter, I believe is kind of what you're saying, Teresa, just making sure like, hey, we're going to have Christmas hams and prime ribs available again this year. Here's the link, click on it, make sure you get your order in. People sometimes just need that reminder. Need to do it. It's usually when I start getting questioned about it is when I'm like, oh man, I better get this done. So I just had somebody the other day like, hey, are you doing Christmas hams again? I need to get an order in. I'm like, man, I got to get that up on the site. So that's usually like when people start asking me, I'm like, I got to get this done. But I also try to send out when I do like email the customers, my previous customers, so kind of like a reminder, like, hey, I just emailed all my turkey people from last year and said, hey, don't know if you're interested in purchasing a farm fresh turkey again this year, but the orders are live. Better get your order in. We have limited supplies, and kind of just remind them. I got a ton, a bunch of orders that day because I posted it once, but they probably, like Teresa said, didn't see it. The other thing I kind of like to do to create a little bit of that hype, like we've been talking about, is, just saying, hey, before I open this up to the public, since you're a previous purchaser, I want to let you know that the ordering is up and you could get, secure yours first and kind of just, make them feel special because they are a previous customer.
I think Teresa touched on this a little bit, but do you include anything in the boxes as far as promotional items, coupons, maybe a thank you? Talk a little about what you include in the box to hype up your own business.
Yeah, I do a handwritten card in all of them. One thing I will say that has been kind of cool that a few customers have commented on is that especially when they buy multiple different kinds of meat that support multiple farmers, I'll make sure that that's on the note that they know that, you just directly supported 3 farmers with your purchase. So thank you so much from all of us for doing that. It makes them feel really good about what they do. And I think that's important to call that out. So handwritten notes, certainly. And then, admittedly, I don't do this a lot and I probably should do more of it. And it's my plan for the holidays this year. 2023 goal is to actually include then like future purchase discounts. So, hey, on your next purchase, save 10% off your order by using this coupon checkout code. ChopLocal is really great about that kind of stuff where you can set your own coupon code with them and that customer can use it at checkout on their first purchase. So you can do promotional stuff like that. And that's my intention this year of doing that or an offering it in store too, if they're local and they want to come in store and shop. So just something to kind of, they're getting a nice little testing of what you have to offer. So how can you get them back in to start purchasing their own stuff? I think that's important to kind of think through. So
The main things that I've done is just like a business card, but if it's a holiday purchase, specifically like a holiday card with our picture of our family that just says thank you for supporting our business, something that we used to mail out to a lot of people, but now I just include it in their purchases because I'm thanking them directly with that. And then they are seeing the family that's behind it. And a lot of people like that. The other thing, just even on the styrofoam cooler, sometimes I'll just write thank you in handwriting, like not even necessarily a thank you card, but just something handwritten, I think goes a long way.
yeah.
So this is kind of moving away from the boxes side of things, but one of obviously the most popular holiday items is prime ribs. So in your planning for holiday sales, how do you balance the demand for steaks at the holidays with prime rib or standing rib roasts?
That's a great question. So in the past couple of years, I've only gotten, I think it was 8 total prime rib last year that I purchased or that I got off of my harvest, like in October, November. And that was it. And that's how I make sure on social media already, I'm telling people, if you want the prime rib, you better lock it in right now. So give me your name and phone number and start telling me what you want. Cause I set myself a number and once they're gone, they're gone. And you're going to turn a lot of people away potentially. And I think that's okay though, because then that really creates the demand and they understand the urgency of making sure they lock that in the future, if that's what they really want. So I feel like that's really tricky to kind of balance that because then you've got all these bundles too. All the more reason why if you're having companies and people that want multiple bundles full of steaks, like you can only produce so much, right? And so you've got to kind of figure out where you're comfortable or where you want to say, I'm only going to have X amount of these available this year. And once they're gone, they're gone. The rest of it's all going to be for these bundles. And then, okay, so, if I have, how many ribeyes do I have left then to create how many bundles, right? So I think that there is a lot of planning that goes on in the holidays to make sure that you don't overpromise and underdeliver. You want to do it quite the opposite of that. So that's kind of how I've been like, this is going to be my number this year. I'm going to commit to getting this much off of these next couple of harvests and that's it. So
yeah, I don't think, most consumers, I don't think really truly understand that there's only so many steaks on a beef. So I tell them all the time, like, hey, if I could make cattle produce more steaks, I wouldn't have to work so hard, but it is what it is. So kind of the same thing, just having that short supply creates its own hype and its own, early orders because people know that you're going to run out. And I think a lot of that comes down to education too. Like we only have so many beef that go in and this is what's available. The other thing that I have done is work with our local butcher who sources his cattle locally. And once I'm sold out, I will be completely transparent with my customers and just say, hey, ours are sold out, but I'm working with, my butcher and he can get a good product that I stand behind. If you'd like me to get you one from them, I'm willing to do that. And people most of the time are like, absolutely. So just another way of supporting another local business. And I know where the beef's coming from too. It's not like it's being shipped in from somewhere. So I have started to do some of that when we do run out, but I am transparent about that because I don't want it to ever, come back to where, I'm not telling people exactly where it's coming from.
I want to pull in one of the questions that we had here about taking deposits for pre-orders. So for things like prime rib or turkey or Christmas hams, do you guys take deposits for those pre-orders? How does that work?
Yeah, so turkeys, yes. Well, okay. I guess I'll back up a little bit. If they ordered online through the ChopLocal site, I've set a price for certain ranges of sizes of turkeys, and they pay for that in full. So when they come pick up their turkey or all their sides or their pies or whatever else they're buying on there, it's all paid in full. If they come into the store, I don't do a deposit. I have done that for the last 2 years and I've never had an issue. It's a pretty small amount. And honestly, I have enough people banging on the doors last minute that would love a turkey that don't get one. I wouldn't have an issue moving all the turkeys if some of those people didn't show up, kind of thing. So I don't do a deposit on those, but I certainly very much encourage people to order online and lock it in, just because it's easier when they come to pick it up. It's already taken care of. They don't have to worry about it. They literally come in, we hand them their food, their turkey, and they go out the door, kind of thing. So that's how I've personally set it up, and I haven't had an issue. Now, if things grow and evolve even more, would I potentially entertain putting a deposit down? Probably. But I think when we're talking about turkeys and prime ribs, I have no problem selling them. So I don't require that. It's a lot of logistics to keep up with ahead of time that I just don't have time for, to be brutally honest. So
I'm the opposite. I do require a deposit just because I don't want to sit on 100 turkeys. Not that I think people wouldn't. Like you said, I've not had an issue with people not showing up. It's usually the opposite, where the day before Thanksgiving, like, hey, do you have any of those left? No, I don't. Sorry. But I do have them put a little bit down just to kind of hold them accountable. And probably could get away from it, make it a little easier at the end of the day, but I do have them put a little bit down. It's like $20 towards their prime rib or $20, towards their turkey. So it's not a ton, but I do have them put a deposit.
I think you're more organized than I am.
It's all a facade.
I had a follow-up question for your big corporate orders or your big, business orders. If they're doing a bunch of bundles, do they pay for the whole amount up front and then you put together the bundles and they come pick them up? Or, do you require a deposit on some of those, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So those I do, and those are like thousands of dollars worth of orders in one time. So yes, I do, because that's costing me money up front to be able to get those off harvest and then set them aside, right? So, a few of those bigger companies are actually I personally know the people that own them. And so like that kind of thing, I'm not concerned about that. But the other ones I certainly do. I say, okay, we're going to do $250 bundles. You ordered 32 of them. Here's your total. And I'll invoice them and say, I need this, within the next however many days. And then it's done, it's paid for, and I'm going to secure them. I'll deliver them on this date, and it's a done deal. And I've never had an issue with that. And they actually pay in full ahead of time. And then we just agree on a date that I'll show up with a van full of all these boxes all put together and ready to go, and we'll deliver them. So that's a great question. And that's a good point. Those larger orders, I absolutely do, because I'm setting that aside specifically for those people. And it's a lot of meat. And if that were to fall through last minute, I'm out that money, and that's a lot. So.
And once again, I'm the opposite. I don't have
partners.
I don't have to pay for it at a time. But the difference, I think, is that I'm not working with big corporate companies. A lot of the businesses that are purchasing from me, we are in business with. We have that business relationship somehow within the farm or within customers or something. So I feel like I kind of have almost a working relationship with them, to where I don't necessarily worry about it. Now, if it was somebody that I have no idea who it is and they ordered thousands of dollars of meat, that probably would change my feeling on that. But most companies that I worked with, they have come personally and picked the items up, and then they just pay for it when they pick it up. And knock on wood, nobody's stuck me with anything yet.
Okay, so the next question, we talked a lot about people last minute being, do you still have turkeys? Do you still have prime rib? How do you deal with the last minute orders? Do you set inventory aside specifically for this, or what do you do to deal with last minute orders?
Yeah, I don't set anything aside. So like when it comes to turkeys, I'll usually order or have the turkey farmer drop off like maybe an extra 5, I think is what I did last year, an extra 5 turkeys. Same thing with hams. I'll kind of pad my order a little bit with hams. Obviously prime rib, no, because those fly out the door really fast. So I really don't, I try to really stay on my inventory through the holidays a lot more than I do the rest of the year. But that way I'm really, again, putting out there on social media, hey, we've only got 3 prime ribs left, right? We've only got 10 hams left. And I really push that out there a lot for people. So I don't really pad a lot for last minute folks. To me, it's once it's gone, it's gone. Yes, those extra last minute sales would be great, but I've been burned before, and having it in stock and then having to literally just give it away is a lot worse than not getting 1 or 2 last minute sales. So I look at it that way of, I do as much. I mean, I just hustle as much as I can, September, October, November, half of December. And if I run out, that's great, because then I'm going to go have dinner and a cocktail somewhere with my spare time. But yeah, I don't want anything left at the end of the year. I want to do a fresh start in January and just have it be gone. So
Yeah, I generally, like you said, order a couple extra and plan on maybe a couple, but not much, because I don't want to be stuck with it. I don't want to sit on it. The other thing, and you mentioned this, Teresa, when we had talked a couple of days ago, is making substitutions for those last minute orders. Like if you have somebody that wants a button, I think that's a great idea. They might want, a bundle of some sort, but you are missing X, Y, and Z to make that bundle. Those last minute shoppers will be just fine with you making a substitution in that bundle. So I think that's a great idea, because they're kind of in a bind and you can make it work with what you have. And so I think that's a great idea, in a way that you can maybe get rid of stuff that you still have instead of, what's already gone. So I like that idea.
And I think I will say that ChopLocal is great about that. And that's one thing that I really love about this, about kind of just utilizing this platform, is because you can make changes like that last minute, right? So my holiday bundle, if I wanted to substitute a couple things, because now, well, I'm out of porterhouse, I'm out of ribeyes, but hey, I've still got T-bones and some New York strips left. I can go online and I can adjust some of those bundles and say, I can leave it at the same price point. And I can go in there and say, okay, delete these 2 steaks that are on here, and I'm going to input these and then advertise it again and say, hey, we've ran out a couple things, but we've actually redone some of our holiday bundles and this is what we have left. So that's a great point. And I think that's what's really cool about how ChopLocal allows you to be flexible like that as your inventory kind of shifts, especially through the holiday season. So.
All right, so that is kind of all the questions that we had prepared. We do have a few in our question queue as well, so we'll hop into those next. So one of the questions we have is, any tips for holiday meat bundles when they need to stay frozen for local pickup and delivery while still looking attractive to the consumer?
So what I do with mine is I still just put them in a nice box. I think just the packaging is where you're at. I don't think it necessarily has to be foo-foo on the inside. Just have a nice looking box on the outside with, a stamp or logo or something, so it's clean. And you could always even put like a little bow or something on it. I don't know that it necessarily has to be, because yeah, you're right. That box is then going to need to go into a freezer. So what you're packaging it with is kind of hard, and things get damp, and it doesn't then always look very pretty.
Yeah, I would agree. And I don't know if can people see me? Can they see my screen?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so yeah, this box that I have from Uline, these are actually like super high quality, like really good cardboard. I've tested them. I've actually had them full of meat in a freezer for weeks at a time, and they've still been perfectly solid and stable. So that's what I use. And a lot of people love that, because then they literally just set it down in their freezer, and then they, to your point, they tie a ribbon or do something kind of cute with it, right? Hand it to the person, and then it can kind of go back in the freezer again. And then I just use that crinkle paper inside, and I'd be happy to send out that link afterwards. But that's kind of a little bit more of it still looks good and looks pretty, but it's kind of a little bit more durable to be able to store in a freezer or refrigerator if they need to do that. So I love these boxes. I've been using them for the last couple of years, and people think they're great, and they work out really well. So.
And I think the white boxes make it just look a little more classy too.
Yeah.
Versus the cardboard color.
Yeah. And then you can tie a pretty pink ribbon. I've had some people, I have like custom made charcuterie boards here in the store from a local guy. And I've had some people put like the charcuterie board on top of the bundle or the box, and then like wrap a bow around it and put a really nice card on the top. And that's literally the whole gift to somebody. And people think that that's pretty darn cool. So yeah, they can kind of make it cute in their own way. I don't know.
I love the charcuterie board box idea. That's so fun. One of the other questions was, do you choose items that are, do you choose shelf staple items that can be frozen easily and thawed? Have you guys dealt with that a lot?
I haven't really. So I have some people that come in and they'll get like a meat bundle, and then they'll pick some things off the shelf, like a honey or a rub or something like that to go along with it, or hot sauce. I'll send that home with them in a separate bag. And then at holiday time, when they go to gift it, they'll put those items in that box and kind of make it a whole gift. But it's not freezer safe, obviously, to have, the hot sauce, the glass, and the things like that in there. So I'll kind of do it individually like that, where I'll show that it might all be together as a bundle. But when I send it home with that person, or even ship it, I guess it's kind of separated so that they can then put it together and kind of make it look nice at the last minute before they actually give it to somebody. So it's a little tricky, I think, but.
Yeah, I make two different options, one that's shelf stable and one that's not, one that needs to be in the freezer or the cooler.
Okay, we have one last question here. Have either of you ever included wine with your bundles?
I can't legally sell wine yet, so no, but
same. I mean, I may have tried once, but
no, but I think honestly, like, I think to the point earlier of like making sure that you're, that they know exactly what comes in that bundle, like the glass jar example, right? The glass jar didn't come in the actual bouquet, and they said something about it, but I would say like advertise that, right? Like show somebody how they can dress this bundle up and add other local items that they may purchase elsewhere to make this a really cool gift for somebody. So show how you can be just a part of that gift, but maybe not the entire gift itself. And I think that would be a really cool idea of showing, a thing of steaks and a 12-pack or a 6-pack of local IPAs, from a local brewery. We don't carry this, but here's a really great idea of something to gift to somebody, and you can go down the street and get it from this brewery and then a bundle, and it's a done deal kind of thing. So I think that's a great idea. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Just make sure you're clear on what actually comes in the bundle and what doesn't.
The other thing that I was thinking of when I was thinking of coming on here, and I wanted to share this because I always get into this situation as we talk about always selling out and stuff. And I don't know, maybe this is just me and Teresa doesn't have this issue, but like I will generally sell not a ton of turkeys a year, but maybe 70 or to 100. And people have to see that post multiple times before I will sell out. I will sell out, and I'll be sold out weeks before Thanksgiving, but I've already shared it a couple of times and I've had orders, but it's not like they're gone today the first time I share it. And I think historically I used to get a little discouraged by that. And I think you just need to keep at it and keep sharing, like you said, Teresa, because different people see it every time. And there's actually studies that in marketing, people have to see something up to 9 times before they'll actually pull, the trigger and actually order that product. So you just have to keep in their newsfeed. You need to kind of keep in the back of their mind. They might need to see the email. They might need to hear it on the radio. They might need to see it multiple different ways before they'll actually order. And so don't get discouraged if you do holiday baskets or holiday boxes and they don't fly off the shelf the first time you post it. Is kind of where I'm going with that, because I think people then they wait a lot of times until a week or two before, and they're like, oh, that was cute, who had that? And you will sell them. So don't get discouraged if they don't sell out within the first 24 hours that you market them.
Yeah. And I mean, ask some friends to share it on social media too, right? Shoot a text out to a bunch of people and say, hey, I just posted something for holidays. Do you guys mind going on my page and, sharing it out there and kind of dispersing it? But yeah, I agree. I don't think you can share enough, because every time you do it, somebody different is going to see it that has never seen it before, or they're going to need that reminder to get their order in or whatever it might be. So 100%. Yeah.
All right. Well, we are at 8 o'clock Central Time on the dot. So if there's not any more questions, we'll wrap things up for the night. Thanks for joining us. And thank you to Teresa and Rebecca for all of your expertise. I know you guys gave a lot of great creative ideas tonight. So feel free to follow these two for more holiday inspiration, and good luck this holiday season.
Thank you.